hard to really take it in all at once, just kind of, or to think much, it's just very overwhelming, things that, because it was, like you said, it was 12 years, so we had all been kind of wondering for so long and just kind of, so lost in the process of making this, and then to see it all reflected back at once is very emotional, but beautiful, but also terrifying and painful.
Did you like...
Sorry. No, Lorelai.
Oh,
Did you
this
like
is
watching?
Kathleen.
This is Lorelai.
I cannot say that I was happy with my part in the movie. I don't want to say anything about it as a whole, but my personal experience of it was not positive. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was too offended. I think that I don't know. We have he's okay. He's okay. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, both. I certainly don't want to limit myself to acting, but I do enjoy acting a lot. But I also, I think I've learned a lot about filmmaking as a whole, and have a lot of ideas. So I want to make movies in some way. I mean, it was very gradual. There were a lot of those moments, but I think about halfway through, when Mason and his dad would go camping together. That was one of the first years that I had been taking some acting classes, and I was definitely much more interested in acting as a craft, and how to more techniques, and was asked Ethan and Patricia questions and things like that. So that was definitely a big turning point.
Oh. Well, coordinating it was not easy. No fácil. Yeah, no, not easy at all. It was trying to schedule everybody, getting everybody together, and making all of the time fit together, and when we could get Patricia and Ethan available and Rick's availability. Everybody was very busy, so it was hard because we were only coming together for a short amount of time each year, and otherwise people were doing their lives and doing other things. So bringing everybody back together and finding that perfect moment, that sweet spot of time when everyone was going to be available wasn't easy. Yeah. And we were a low budget project, so that also has its challenges. My patience? Yes. Well, no. Yeah, we were all, yes, you have to have patience. But when you're doing something that's so long like this, you're not thinking to the end all the way, to the future. You're thinking about what you're doing at that moment, as we all should. We should live in the moment that you're living in. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was an amazing thing, to be able to come back to the character like that, and it never really felt like a process of getting back into character, because it was kind of a constant reflection and comparison between our lives and the characters' lives and what Richard had written. So, and that, I think that was a powerful thing to go back to every year, kind of inspecting your own life through a fiction.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun going back to the set every year to see where the people would be living. It was always a new place, or usually a new place. So it was like, okay, this is what my alternate dimensional life looks like this year. So yeah, fun. Here. I
mean, certainly being a part of the project, was influenced, me and the way I grew to look at the world, I guess. It's strange because there's a lot of all of our lives in the film. I think everything comes from reality, from someone's life, from someone's reality. But it's kind of an amalgamation, so there aren't many specific things I can point to that like that's. I mean, there are a couple of things, but a lot of it's just kind of using our lives as like I said, like a comparison and kind of a reference point to see where these characters might be and how Mason might react to things and how his relationship with his parents forms and how relationships with girls and friends and school dynamic and that kind of thing. So there's definitely a lot of I think all of our lives influenced it in different ways.
There were definitely elements of real life that my dad picked out to put in the film, but I think he was aiming to make it very universal, pick out things that a lot of people could relate to. But I wouldn't say the film influenced my life that much, but our lives did influence the film. Not a ton, but there were real things in there.
I mean, just that people get it at all really is the most surprising thing. I think it's it's a pretty bizarre concept, and kind of while we were making it, trying to explain it to people, it was always people's eyes kind of glaze over, and they are like, oh well, 10 years, okay, and what is it about? It's about people growing, and there's no tragedy, so what. And so, it was scary, certainly, to release the film and kind of release it to people because it's so tender and personal, and it's also just so different than, most movies. And it's very, surprising but inspiring that people connect with it the way they do. I don't think I expected that. Yeah, I think we would all talk to Richard throughout the year. Obviously, Lorelai lived with him. But I mean, him and Ethan talked, constantly, and I would get lunch with them a few times throughout the year, and just kind of, compare where we were in life to where, the characters were in his, in his ideas and his memories and that kind of thing. And then we would usually meet up for a week or so before filming and kind of just workshop and build the scenes and build the characters for that year and place them in time. So yeah, very much so. I mean, at least for me, the concept of 12 years is pretty abstract when you're 6 or 7. So it I was excited about it, and I saw that it was a big deal and something that was a large opportunity. But as far as how that amount of time affects you and changes you, and how your experiences change you, aren't really aware of that as a child. So, looking back, I see it differently.
The whole thing. No, just knowing that thousands of people are seeing my most awkward stages be broadcasted, and knowing that the movie is made to be awkward, it's made for people to laugh at. So it's like, it's funny and awesome, but it's like, when it's you, it's like, oh, yikes. But, I'm pretty over that. But, yeah, it's hard.
I think, if a specific moment when Mason talks to Sheena for the first time in the woods and has his philosophical monologue that is very much out of my head, and I was very much of a pseudo-philosopher when I was a teenager, so that's pretty embarrassing. I rambled a lot.
I want to say something though about Eller and Lorelai, is that we made it like a family. So it was a wonderful environment that we had, and as Eller said, it was kind of like summer camp, coming back to something like that. And because he was working on it for a small amount of time per year, one of our primary goals was that it wouldn't have a negative impact on them, or be like it wasn't like it was your typical film set, and he wasn't having this young film career. The movie's just out now. Eller's career has just now started. So there wasn't this. He got to have a normal childhood. Well, as normal as having two artist parents and living in Austin, Texas, and working on a movie every year is. But it was a fairly normal existence in that way, and that he was not a child star. Nobody knew what we were doing. We didn't share about the film. It was very under the radar, under the radar. Yeah. So it was quite. Do you want to say what you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't a child star. I think that's a lot of, what is so awkward about being a child actor is having, the attention and the, being a public icon or whatever before you even really know who you are. And it's certainly, it's been, this last year has been pretty weird, and, an adjustment, to get used to all of this. But I think we're better prepared for it now than we would have been when we were children.
You don't plan for the worst. I mean, you really, in this case, I think we just prepared for the best always. And a lot of things that happened during the film, we lost some locations or, things like that. Like last minute, we thought we were shooting somewhere, we didn't get it, we had to change our idea at that moment and go somewhere else. But everything that happened in the film, really, by the end of it, by the time we were finished, felt like it was everything that it was as it should be. It was as it was meant to be, It just, so as far as like, worrying or preparing, I worried. I didn't really talk about it, but I secretly worried about what could potentially happen. But Rick didn't seem to feel the same way, It was like normal shooting, and then we just had to do it again, and then we just had to do it again, and then again. It was like Groundhog Day, waking up and getting to go back and do the same thing again. But I say it was the same thing, but every year was something fresh and new. Like Lorelei said, getting to look forward to, hey, where's the family now? What are they doing? What house are they living in? What's happened to them? It was always kind of exciting, even for the crew, to come back and sort of go, well, what's going on now? What's happening with, Mason and Mason Sr. and Samantha and Olivia, what are the characters doing this year? Because we didn't have a script from the beginning, so each year the script was written. So in a lot of ways it was a surprise to everyone when what we actually filmed.